Hello everyone and welcome to the Educational Webinar Jam. Today it's all about HyperDoc for online teaching. This session will be delivered by the founder herself, Ms. Maria Zahir. She is a highly skilled teacher trainer with extensive knowledge of the latest and most effective teaching methodologies. She holds fellowship in higher education and Masters in TESOL and Applied Linguistics from the UK. Ms. Maria has worked in esteemed institutions and received multiple recognition awards for her research in teaching methodologies and development, which have proven to be both creatively innovative and best practices for an ever-changing generation of students. The month of November is also packed with more interactive webinars, which will aid both online teaching and learning. On the 7th of November, it's all about connecting with the world of Slack, which will be presented by Ms. Hilala Turkestani. On the 14th of November, it's all about emerging in teaching optimal online learning, and it'll be presented by Dr. Hala Dalbani. And finally, on the 21st of November, it's about students' engagement, best practices for online interactivity, and it'll be presented by Dr. Connie Mitchell. Now, without further ado, I'll let Ms. Maria present today's webinar.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Educational Webinar Jam. And today's webinar is all about HyperDoc. It's the latest innovation lesson plan for online teaching and learning. So what are you learning today as an attendee of this webinar? So firstly, you will learn about different strategies for creating an interactive lesson. Then you will learn about different tools for creating interactive lessons. And lastly, you will experience an interactive lesson. That means you will experience how a HyperDoc looks like and how you can teach as a model lesson. I will show you as a model lesson in today. Right, so before we proceed, if you all kindly use the link provided in the chat box and answer to this question. Have you ever used a HyperDoc? Do you think it is a headache or answer to your prayers? So let's have a quick poll. Kindly use the link provided in your chat box if you click on that link and reply to this poll. So the answers you will see here on your screen. Have you ever used a HyperDoc? Yes or no? Do you think it's a headache or it's answer to your prayers? Just a quick poll. If you kindly use the link provided in the chat box to reply to this poll. So we have someone saying no in the chat box, another no. I would appreciate if you could use the link. So we have more no's, I guess. Is the link not working? Should be. Okay, I apologize. Let's move on then. Let's move on. So I can see from the chat box that we have more no's. So you don't know what a HyperDoc is. So I'll ask this question again at the end and ask you whether you think it will be a headache or answer to your prayers. Right, so you may ask, what is a HyperDoc? So HyperDoc is basically a transformative digital lesson delivery that shifts the focus from teacher-led lecture to a student-driven inquiry-based learning through exploration. Yeah, it's quite a mouthful, but if you look at each color part, look at the transformative, teacher-led lecture and through exploration. So what's happening is we're doing the shift here. Because it's a digital lesson, we're taking it to a student-centered activity and it will be driven through inquiry-based learning, and you will experience this when you will witness a interactive lesson yourself later in the lesson. So this is a complete package. Why a HyperDoc? The question might arise again. So because builds out a unit of a lesson in advance, you can literally plan for the whole week rather creating a PowerPoint each day and doing something each day, working day and night to provide a lesson every day. You can literally plan your whole lesson for the week, whether it is a synchronous lesson or asynchronous lesson. Components of a good lesson design will be, all as teachers know, that we need to engage our students. They should have an exploratory factor into it. Explain, apply. They should able to apply what they have learned in that lesson, reflect in a kind of a feedback as well of that lesson, share their thoughts, and then you extend and build on what you have learned as a homework or an extended activity. It encourages independence. So the students are taking control of their learning. It's an engaging packaging. It engages them all the time. From the very minute you start this HyperDoc lesson with them till the end, students will be absolutely engaged in this lesson. It's a flexible lesson design templates. I will show you a couple of samples how you can design a different template. And then integrated variety of digital medias. We as teachers, when we are delivering online, we tend to go to different digital media tools and, open our slides, go back and forth and come back to it. So this whole package will allow you to do it in one place. You will be all doing it in one place. Teachers can be freed up with work with small groups. Students can work at their own pace. This is something very important because we have multiple skills learners in our class. Not all are very smart, not all are very tech savvy. Even we as teachers are not very tech savvy. So it helps in all levels for teachers and students to have their work done according to their own liking. Differentiate and give students choice. And flip your instructions. This is something my absolute favorite as a teacher. When we are not all the time talking, we're giving students the opportunity to have their instructions done, having their work done. So just maybe the first time when you introduce this concept, they might struggle. But once they start getting into the flow of it, they will absolutely love it. And it will reduce your teaching time and your ability to build a lesson. So what is a HyperDoc and what it actually looks like? It's a digital document with hyperlinks curated by a teacher. So it depends on the subject you're teaching. It depends on the content you're teaching, what level of students you're teaching, and you can create it yourself. There are lots of templates online that can be recycled subject-wise, and you can create one yourself. So this is one of the typical example of a HyperDoc. So if you can see, it is just one page, this whole one page with different instructional levels and rules in the center. So this is, and the blue part are all the hyperlinks that are created in this document that calls it a HyperDoc. So all the steps, it's like a board game. It depends how you like it to be. You can be as creative as possible and as colorful as possible. That's your choice. This is one of the other examples where there is active learning taking place when students can use, again, the reading, gamification, create, connect. These are kind of your instructions. The blue links are the hyperlinks of the HyperDoc. And the process is, again, like a board game for young learners. And this is another way of using a HyperDoc. So I'm showing you 3 samples here. And each icon here in this game board is creating a hyperlink to the activities you want your students to do. And you will show these. I will show you these samples in a sample activity later. Right, so it's bingo time again. So kindly use your chat box again and tell me if you recognize 3. If you recognize 3 of these apps, learning apps, you can write a bingo and let's see who's the winner. So there are 9, there are apps here from ThinkLink to Canvas. Do you recognize any of these? Oh, Aisha, there's a bingo here. Well done, you are a winner. Who else? Aisha, can you tell us what Oh, wow. We have more bingos here. So how many do you know? Which ones do you know? Can you just indicate in your chat box, please? Canvas? Oh, you know one. Okay. What else? Anybody else? None of them, Omar. Okay. No worry. Oh, wow. That's nice. Well done. So we have some tech-savvy attendees here today. Good. So you have saved me from the worry. Right. Good. Okay. Great. That's fine. So this is a similar activity. You can do it with your students as well, judging and asking their level of ability of the apps they know. And these links, if you can see the links below, the video tutorials are basically the links that will guide your students as well, and to go through it and how they can present when they're doing the task on their self basis, on the self-study learning basis. Well done. So we have some good tech-savvy teachers and attendees here today. So can I use it? The question then arises, can I use it as a complete lesson from start to the end, or when can I use it? So here are some of my suggestions. We need a combination of synchronous and asynchronous lesson when we are teaching online nowadays. That means synchronous is when the real time, when you are teaching and communicating with your students through any communicational app. And you have to be more engaging and effective lesson, allowing for instant feedback and clarification. And some of the examples you might be already using as a video conferencing link, a live chat, or any live stream videos. So what is asynchronous? Asynchronous is when you provide your students with a link or an activity to do on their own time as a homework, as an extension of what you have taught them through Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you're using. So you might be using, again, videos, blogs, and posts. So what's happening is teachers creating too much of content at a one time and struggling to put them all in a synchronous lesson. So HyperDoc is, I think, answer to your prayers to this point, when I can say you can add everything on just one document and just attach the links and students can click on and move on. Right, so do you have any questions, or should I move on? Any questions so far? All good? Great, okay. So the best instructional model for creating a HyperDoc, and I think generally we as teachers also look at these elements, is the 5E instructional model. So what are the 5 E's? We straight away, when we're starting a lesson, we engage our students. We have some explore element to it. Then we tend to explore that, explain that, elaborate that, and evaluate as a reflection. So this is one of the best models you can say for an instructional model for a HyperDoc, and in general as well for teaching purposes. So what are all these elements? First is engage. How do you engage your students? So engaging students with an image, meme, quote, video clip, anything that is interesting, any media bite that engages your students will help them engage. So I'm sure most of the teachers, that's how we start our lesson, just to connect them, let them bring back to the lesson. So then comes the next stage, that is the explore stage. When they have gone through the video clips, you want to explore more. You want them to dig into the information that was just provided to them. This might give them a preview, just a recap before you start a lesson, pique interest in a topic, or just spark curiosity. I think this is something very important, especially students nowadays get very bored quickly. So we need to spark curiosity in the beginning of the lesson, keeps them engaged till the end of it. So when the curiosity is built up, that's where the explain part comes in the instructional model, where you teach direct instruction lessons and learning objectives are shared with your students, and thus often you serve as a lesson focus. So students know, for example, your lesson is all about vocabulary building today, or just about a particular topic today. So that's where the learning and the explanation part comes out. but the HyperDoc will also create an interactive element to it that will be witnessed in a while. So after you've done all the explanation, you want to elaborate, but this elaborate should come from the students. You have given your input. Now you want extension activities or provide a link or a resource for further study of the topic. So this motivates the learners. So you have done your part. You have given all what there is. Now it's the students' part to do, and then be cognitively engaged in what you have just taught to them. And last but not least is the evaluate. I think this is the most important part for any teaching lesson, is to understand whether it's reflective lesson, where you really understand, was your instruction clear enough for your students? Did they really achieve what you wanted them to achieve? So invite students to reflect on their learnings and be metacognitive with helping them ensure that the learning sticks. This is very important. We can go on and hours and hours of lecturing with the students, but the learning does not stick because it is one monotonous pattern when students get bored and they deviate from what you really want to teach them. So this is another way to really keep them engaged from the start till the end of the lesson, where students and the learning will really stick to them and they will be enthusiastic and curious enough to move on with the rest parts of the element. Right, so you may say, oh, I'm not very tech savvy. This webinar is not for me. To be honest, you can have a high tech, like we had bingo of 2 or 3, but it can be as high tech and as low tech of a HyperDoc. You can even use simple 5 apps that you know. We all know Google Classroom. We know Quizlet or Kahoot, for example. So it depends on you. So at each stage, these are the ways you can engage. So the blue links are showing you the different links. This will be shared with you in your goodie bag that you will receive with your certificate. The links here are helping you understand where you can use these apps in what part of the lesson. So you can engage them with a simple YouTube in the engagement part, or a Padlet or Kahoot or whatever you like. And then explore when you can add any basic like Google Cardboard, anything, simple thing. Quizlet, we all know. I'm sure most of you would recognize most of these apps, and I have labeled them according to the stage of a lesson. You can use them in your classroom. So it depends on you, how much tech savvy you are, how much tech savvy you think your students are. I think our students are more tech savvy than we are. So it will definitely work. Right, so are you ready to get inspired? Are you get ready to get inspired with the lesson plan? Okay, totally, yes. How many are you still inspired? Good. I've got some good attendees here who are really connected and listening to me. Okay, so I am going to show you a lesson plan that can be for any subject. I'm not restricting this to any single subject. It depends how you want to use it. So it can be whom I'm saying, because some of us are also parents and we are supporting our kids' learning as well. So we can create a HyperDoc as a parent for our kid as well. If we think a subject, math, our child is struggling in, not only our students, reading, writing, science, or social studies. So here the inspiration starts. Now, the first part of the lesson plan, I'm going to show you in a synchronous learning activities. That means while you are teaching them in class live, one-to-one with your students every day. So what happens in the synchronous learning activities, it should build community relationship. That means the activity should have when everybody is giving their feedback. So lead interactive modeling sessions, and I will show you what I mean by that. Personalize instructions and provide one-to-one coaching. While doing a synchronous activity, teachers can, despite being on distance learning, do this one-to-one coaching with their feedback with students. Guide practice application. Facilitate real-time conversation. Like I am just asking you, okay, use your chat box, say yes or no, or say whether you like it or not. So what am I doing? I'm facilitating real-time conversations. I am getting back from you. some kind of feedback. That's how you can also use it one way with your students. Foster collaboration among students. Real-time feedback, work in progress. This is when teachers can also comment on a particular activity, like a chat back and forth with these students. So here it is. If you can see this, I have created this template of a virtual classroom to give students a real feel, of a class. So I've used a Bitmoji here. You all will receive this in your goodie bag as well. You will all will receive this template that you can use straight away in your class. It is editable, and you can use this lesson and edit it according to your liking. So the first part, what happened? That means here I want my students to get engaged to today's lesson, and my curiosity question comes up. So, for example, my lesson is about global warming. So why this is a HyperDoc? Because I've created a hyperlink to my slides where my students can go on Jamboard and share their thoughts. So if I click on this icon, you can see it takes me straight to the Jamboard that was created earlier. And my questions are, and the picture is on the top with the 2 questions and a sample, post-its from the students. So students can add more post-its here from this thing. And you can say, trees are dying, whatever. And students can keep on adding, change their color, and keep on adding. You can also give a feedback with your own instructions as you like. So it's very interactive. Students can see on the screen. So I didn't change. If I will close it, I will go back to my slides straight away. So if you can see, this was the interactive part. I could just build my engagement with the students. It was very interactive. It was collaborative. They were able to reply to it. So let's see what is the second part of curiosity, when I want my students to know whether the vocabulary they are aware of not. So again, I have created a hyperlink here for my students. And a picture is there. All these activities will be shared with you, inshallah, with a drag and drop, whether they understand what an Arctic elements look like. So they can drag and drop pictures for example, this is a polar bear. These are the glaciers. So this drag and drop out activity only takes place if you are not on a present mode like I am at the moment. So where is an Eskimo? And please always teach them to go and undo button where everything goes back. If they've done anything that is incorrect, they can always undo and go back to it. So this is again one of them engaging. That's this way I'm indirectly checking whether they have the vocabulary to do the further activities or not, whether they really understand what these words mean. So it's like a visual literacy as well, and interactive with the drag and drop way, when students can see and label the elements in this picture. So this is where the engage part comes up, when this is the first lesson with links where students are, normally when you're just presenting, it will not go back and forth like I'm doing with my slides, but when you're doing it normally, it will happen with the presentation mode. It is showing you in a different way. So I'm building on again as an infographic. I collected all the answers we could share on the Jamboard, we could see. But now what am I doing? I'm engaging them more. I'm engaging, get more interest in the lesson, showing them more examples, why it is global warming, the temperature has risen, the effects are, the trees are dying, there are more climate changes happening, then these are the solutions. So you can see how visual it is. And again, the backdrop remains as an visual virtual classroom template when students can continuously get engaged like you are teaching in a class. Now the second part of the lesson comes when they watch a video about a climate change and add their thoughts in the graphic organizer. So what do you think? What part of a lesson is this? What part of a lesson is this? Any idea? What part of instructional model would this be? When you are after engage, you come to what part of it? You are exploring. We are still at exploring. Explain comes after explore. So you are still want them to build on what they just got engaged in, and they will watch a video here on the YouTube. You can see when I click here. Again, it is all about climate change. The students will watch a video with you in the class. And once they are watching, they can use the graphic organizer provided in this hyperlink when they can add all the information in the graphic organizer. Like this. So you can say, what was the main idea? Connect your topics, examples, explanation. So I'm just giving you an example. You can create whatever activity you like, where your students are reflecting and adding information as they are watching the video with you. So this is the explore part of a lesson. You got them engaged with the first part, and now they are exploring with the rest of it. This is here you can again go into more exploration with your students, asking them what are some of the facts of global warming, for example, and what are some of the opinions of global warming. So again, you are building here. You're not changing slides. You have to just go off the presentation mode and type the fact and opinions as students are doing the lesson. All your questions will be answered, inshallah, by the end of the webinar. So what's next? We used a Jamboard earlier. So what's happening here? I'm taking them back to the same Jamboard and I'm asking them to record their responses here. So what's happening is, this is where I'm giving the option to the students to learn and take the learning in their own hands and elaborate their thoughts here off the Jamboard. They were reading or if they haven't read, they can go back and read that Jamboard again and then reply to these simple questions. One thing you liked about the lesson responses, class responses, one thing you didn't like, write a small summary of the concept of global warming. So what happens is when you're adding emails here, you do get the responses. And I'm sure most of us know how to read the responses. This was shown in our previous webinars, and the links will be shared with you, how you can create a form and see the responses in your goodie bag that you will receive. So this is, again, you're giving the learning in the students' hands, and they are responding. And already through the engaging and explore part, the concept of the lesson of the global warming is coming from the student side. The teacher input is very less. Till this point, you have given everything to a student-led lesson. So it's not only just you talking. Your plan was just to create this lesson and do students the rest of the exploration and everything. So this is where you elaborating what you have learned with them. Again, now the main idea, this is your input. So because they wrote the summary, you can show that summary reflection on your lesson while you're teaching, and students can see each other's answers. And the main idea, then you can say, build on this. This is the elaborate part when the teacher elaborates. The key vocabulary that is specifically for your lesson is again created as a HyperDoc for the students. So rather sharing, go to this worksheet, everything is in one package. So here you can see carbon cycle, deforestation, climate change, emission, greenhouse gases, meaning, and a sentence. So depends on the level of the students. You can ask them, okay, give me a meaning of this sentence that word that you understand, a sentence of this word that you understand. So basically, again, it is up to the students to the understanding of what they understand from this word and give you the vocabulary words. If you think they're still struggling, then here you can jump in and say, okay, good try, but carbon cycle means this. And a good sentence for this is this. So you can see here, we have reached to the third part of the instructional model of 5 E's, and the learning is all student-centered to this point. And very little input, and students are doing all the exploration by themselves. And then most of us are aware of Kahoot. I think it's a very common lesson, a way of using online teaching. Teachers use Kahoot a lot nowadays. Whereas again, about global warming, the questions are there. What's the tsunami? It is, I think some things are very common vocabulary. Tsunami, they keep on hearing in the news. All sorts of questions specific to your Kahoot, which you like. This is something which I did with my students. So it depends on you. What are your learning outcomes? What are you trying to achieve from this lesson at the end? So here you can see the elaborate part. It was very exploratory, very interactive. Do you agree? Do you agree that students are more engaged than teacher till this point? What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the chat box. Do you think the students are here more engaged, and this kind of a HyperDoc would help them to be more engaged in this? Yes, thank you. Yes. So we can see straight away this from a sample lesson that how students are getting engaged and exploring the concept all by themselves. So of course, we don't use all the internet resources. We all have textbooks. So what does textbooks do? This is where the explain part comes. This is where the students are building their knowledge of you pre-build all the knowledge, you pre-build the vocabulary, the concept is there. Now they're pretty much focused on the lesson. And I'm sure by this time they will be ready to hear from you and open the textbooks. This is where I think the textbook comes, to be honest, where obviously we cannot just put them to the side. We have to use them. And this is where maybe it's a reading activity, and you want your students to go to the textbook and read and do the exploratory exercises from there. This is the point where, and I'm sure by this time you've connected them to you and they're listening to you, and that's where the explain part comes in. So we have reached to point 4 of 5E for instructional model that's been shared with you. So once we have done, we have to be very sure if students are clear or not. So we ask them, of course, we keep on asking them of the feedback. And yes, any questions, that's where question part comes. And we move on. So what happens is we have come to the evaluate part, or the last part of the lesson, where some of us might be using some, we teach from Skills for Success. So we have an online element where you can teach our students, and they all know how to go through that. So we can have that while a synchronous lesson is going on. And we can have a pop-up quiz if you're not having any online element that you use in your class. We can have a pop-up quiz and even an exit ticket. I think it is very common in our EFL classrooms when most of the teachers use an exit ticket. So how can I do that? It's again hyperlinked. It's hyperlinked to a Google document where I have a question. One thing you like the most of today's lesson, one thing I'm still not sure of, and I still need help in. So with the email, you know which student needs still more help, or a general view. If you don't want, it can be anonymous as well. And this exit ticket, again, will help you evaluate. First, the online element is there. If you don't have an online element supported with the textbook you're using, you can use a quick pop quiz also can be generated in these Google Forms. And an exit ticket is a very common thing. I think most of the teachers are using now. Simple 3 questions to answer, hardly takes 30 seconds, and students are able to give you a reflection of what they have learned in that lesson that day. So this was the evaluate part. I think it is very essential for any teacher to know what was the outcome of her feedback today. Was it just waste of time creating so much and there was no learning outcome? Is the learning really sticking to what you have delivered today? Right. So, of course, this is the part where you are asking the students, we've got this right. So this is another way of creating a HyperDoc, and you will receive this template as well. You're most welcome to use this template. I have created this template as a vending machine. I think it is fun for any stage or any level of students you're teaching. Everybody loves vending machine. But unfortunately, this is a goodie bag of a vending machine of all the goodies of the task that they will be doing. So what happens is you can use the same, like I'll be showing you all the Google documents. So it depends on you what you want to create in this vending machine. The familiar apps like Quizlet or Google Classroom or YouTube, whatever you like, it depends on you. And during your synchronous lesson, the students are already used to using all the tasks that you've been sharing with them during that lesson. There might be some struggle in the beginning, but I think with a lesson or two, they will get used to it. But like I said in the beginning, it is a whole package for the whole week. So this asynchronous learning is not one time, just one day homework or an extension activity of the lesson you have taught. It is for the whole week. Isn't that great that you are able to create something that was for the whole week, not just for one part or just one day of production from your students? So what happens? What kind of activities you can include? There is read and take notes. They can read some article, depends on the link you have provided them, and take notes out of them. Watch videos based on your instructions, depends you want them to, for example, some videos are very lengthy. If you don't know how to crop them, you can say watch from this time to this time and make notes out of it. Listen to podcast. Teacher curated resources are some of the ways, like I showed you in HyperDocs. Engage in online discussions is through Google Jamboard or Padlet or whatever you other ways you know how to do it. Practice and review, research and explore, reflect, document, learning. So that means at the end point when they have reached to reflect is where they will submit their assignment by the end of the week, going through all the stages of the process that you have created from them. The point, you can even write the days you want them to submit that. And this is the main deadline of the document that they will finish up and submit there in the learning LMS system or LMS system, whatever you're using for your students to communicate with. So this is where you can put this slide in your Google Classroom or LMS system that you are teaching, and you can say I've clearly labeled this is this week's exploration, and now it's the students' turn to work on it. So what happens is the first link has the instructions for the students. The instructions as how they will use. This is very important. If you have created a document like I have showed you, where like previous ones had instructions on that, the samples, but here I've created a link where they know they have to read this assignment, create their draft, all the steps are there. And if you can even see me after their draft, if they think they need to. Proofread your essay again. So it depends on what you are aiming for. This is basically a writing assignment. So the synchronous lesson was of the reading assignment, and the asynchronous lesson sample I'm showing you is all about the writing of the same lesson, what they did with me. So my instructions are in the first one, and then comes the Google podcast or whatever podcast you wish to use. Then there's a link to the drive with the documents, YouTube links to the same topic. Again, there are some of the resources that it's free on Google now, on the apps. We can use that. They can search and research from here using different. This is something very interesting. I don't know whether you have ever seen this. It's a thesis generator. For me, I know my students struggle a lot creating a thesis by themselves. This is an online thesis generator when students can type the answers here and generate their thesis themselves. So this is something really interesting. Again, very interactive, rather going through sheets and documents sharing. Just a link will help them to create a thesis by themselves. Quizlet might have the vocabulary or the connecting words you want them to use in their essay. Then there are Newsella articles of the same topic. Here I've talked about baby okras in Washington. Padlet. Padlet is like you just witnessed I'll just show you this as well. The Jamboard is similar to Jamboard. So, but this Padlet here I've created for the peer reviews. The previous activities that were, when they've reached to this point, they have to read their classmates' essays, and they're writing their reviews here. So when they click the write button, they can just write here, for example, Sarah, you need to fix your thesis and post. So what's happening here, this is a peer review where students are reviewing their students' thesis, for example, just the first part of the draft, or she thinks the body paragraph is not correct. They can just leave their anonymous feedback here, and students can go back and see and keep on checking where they went wrong before their final submission. So it's again very collaborative for more students-led feedback, when they are not only relying for teachers to give the feedback, they're getting their feedback from their peers. So you can do the similar thing with the Google Jamboard if you're more comfortable with that. So Padlet is very interesting, and it can take you to any point of it. Checklist. This is also very important. Our students always forget because there's so many of activities. This checklist this template will be shared with you of checklist. Here you can type the questions. Did you check your thesis? Or for example, did you finish your YouTube activity, or did you finish your graphic organizer? It's all on you, depends on what you're achieving by the end of this lesson. So students can keep on answering to your questions and putting check or uncheck if they haven't done. So you can see it's a foolproof lesson. They're getting their feedback. They have a checklist where they can finish and explain, okay, I'm done this. Now I'm ready to send it to my teacher. So this is the final part, which I had to show them. So that's, after the checklist, obviously comes the Google Classroom part when they are submitting their assignment. So you can see it is a complete package. You can even add days here, for example. I will share this template with you, but it will not have these icons. You can edit it according to your liking. And you can even add days here, like Monday do this, Tuesday do this, Thursday do this, Friday do this, and submit it on Saturday. So it depends from which part of the world you're teaching and how or when you want this task to be finished. But you can see, it just took me 30 minutes, to be honest, and by creating this. And I was able to plan a whole week of asynchronous activity that I'm not worried about. And I can check the progress of my students in Google Classroom, what they have reached or where they have reached. But I've let the students to take the exploration and the explanation on their hands, and being independent learners and do their task provided in the flow of the lesson. So the selection they can do and submit the last thing in your classroom. And another best way, you can even ask your students, do you have any other idea of a tool to make your learning visible? Share your ideas with the teacher and go for it. Maybe the learning apps your students are not very comfortable with. Maybe your young generation, well, there might be some in this attendees, but for me, I tend to use only which I'm comfortable with, and I know it is easy for me, it will be easy for my students. But sometimes some tools are very user-friendly for students nowadays, and they message us, Miss, why don't you use this learning app? And why not? So again, this is the reflection, not only from instruction, also from the usage of the elements you're using in a HyperDoc. You're asking for the feedback and show what you know. So again, you can, like the bingo activity, you can do that with the students, and you can ask them, okay, now you tell us if you're not comfortable with this, you tell me or suggest any learning tool. So Okay, great. So this is for you now. This question is for you. As a learner today, what was most helpful for you? How might you use this in your classroom? New ideas you have. So at this point, you can open your mics as well or type in the chat box as you like, and please share your thoughts with us. What is the most helpful? Let's tackle one question at a time. As a learner today, what was most helpful for you? Let's go into the shoes of my, okay, exit ticket was your favorite. What else? Anybody else would like to share? Any new ideas? Interactive doc? Good. I'm glad it was very understanding for you, learning about the different apps. Thank you. We have done previous trainings and webinars of different apps of Kahoot and Peer Deck and anything you can see on our website as well. Planning sessions for the whole instead of the, yes, of course, it is very helpful. It is very helpful for us. 5E is also a very brilliant idea. I think it's a lifesaver for teachers. What might you use in your classroom? Anything that you think you're ready to use this in your classroom as a HyperDoc will help you?
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Maria. It was interesting. I told you I was super busy, but I really didn't want to waste my opportunity, you know?
Yeah. So,
thank you so much.
You liked it? Would you like to share your thoughts with us, Aisha?
Yeah, I loved it. And like I told you, I didn't come across this. And, you know, I am kind of a little bit tech savvy myself. But I, you know, somehow I didn't come across HyperDocs yet. However, I think the one takeaway, if I'm not wrong, please correct me, when it comes to HyperDocs is that it's more to do with its visual appeal. Isn't it? Like you could put all these hyperlinks, for example, in a simple old school Microsoft Office document, right? Or
yes, you can.
or on, for example, PowerPoint slides, right? But I think what I've got from today's webinar is that most probably HyperDocs is basically giving us a better visual, organized version of all of that, I guess.
Yes, I'm sure. Right? Because if you've been sharing, yes, exactly, Aisha, I agree with that. It's more organized as well and visual friendly. I think if you get a paper with 100 links on it, I think you will be put off as well. What is my teacher doing? I don't want to go through all these links. But what's happening is the HyperDoc is also creating the hyper curiosity, if you like. And students will get curious. Okay, I've done stage one. Let's see what my teacher has built up for me in the next link and next link. So it's also a motivation part, and I think students are lacking that a lot nowadays, where the motivation literally dies out, and students just hate to, even if I receive a paper of 100 sentences, to be honest, not even a links, I would say, oh my God, do I have to read all this? I myself is a visual learner, and I like to promote visual literacy as well. And I think we are achieving the same purpose from sharing that on a simple Microsoft Doc paper. But here, the motivation will kick in if it is into a gamification mode, if you like. If that's what your question is, Aisha? So, it will give you
Thank you so much. I think I have a related question now, and it's going to be my last, inshallah.
No worries.
So I think what I see here is, I think the power of HyperDocs would really boil down to its templates. So my question now is, are the templates for free? Or do you have to buy the templates?
Lots of sites are free. I'm also sharing all this. You will receive my virtual classroom template. You will receive all these templates of the vending machine I've created. And you can just insert a link to it and use it as your classroom from tomorrow. So, there are lots of resources I will share with you as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's great. Anything else?
Great.
Anyone? Thank you, Aisha. Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share something or any question you have, please let me know now. Anything else? Any questions? Any part of the lesson that's still not clear? This session is recorded and it will be posted on our website by tomorrow. So if you are not sure of anything, you will be able to see that again. Plus, as promised, there is a goodie bag for all the attendees that will be sent through the website, and I will show you. You will receive this in an email when all the activities are there. All the activities that I showed you in the hyperlinked in the Hyper document is there for you. You can recycle them, they're all editable. HyperDoc, the vending machine I showed you, the gamification part, these all templates are there. You just need to add a picture and show it. Yes, you can send them through email as well. And you can also share them in any LMS document as you like. So your goodie bag will be also received to all of you. Well, that's it for now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to see you in the coming webinars as well. Do follow us on Google and on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and Snapchat and everywhere, and keep yourself updated of upcoming webinars. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think you can use it at any educational stage. That depends on you. It depends on the format, what kind of format you will create. This virtual classroom, I think it's attractive for any stage, any lesson, or just a document. That's on you, how you would like to share. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye for now.